What's up, everybody? It's the 12 Gauge Geek here again. Got another video for you guys today, and this one's a Blasphemous review. So, Blasphemous is a 2D Metroidvania side-scrolling game. It's by some considered a Souls-like because it has, the similar like bonfire mechanic. It has a bile flask, or similar to a flasks or your Estus flasks in Dark Souls 1. But in my opinion, I wouldn't call it a Souls-like because it doesn't have a stamina bar. So I'm going to just use that as my defining criteria here. The game released in September 10th of 2019, and it was released on Windows, PS4, Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch. It is developed by the Spanish studio The Game Kitchen. It was published by Team 17. And the game is very well received. It received, it was like 80s on Metacritic. 70s and 80s seem to be the basic consensus on the game reviews that I could find. The game did receive an award for the Best Spanish and Indie Game of the Year in the 2019 Titanium Award show. And then it also was nominated for Best Art, which I feel was warranted. Quick synopsis for the game for you guys. Blasphemous sees you taking on the role of the Penitent One. He is the sole survivor of the Brotherhood of the Silent Sorrow. They are a brotherhood that has taken essentially a vow to not speak, I believe, as penance for their sins or guilt they have. But he's the sole survivor, and you are traveling a land known as Custodia, I believe it's pronounced. And this land is affected by the grievous miracle, or to some known as just the miracle, un milagro. And the miracle takes form in many different ways. It can present itself in miracles in some people, and it can also present itself in the form of just curses, eternal torment. It can just transform your body into ungodly, horrifying creatures that are just straight demonic things. It really twists and corrupts things that it touches or blesses them. It's no real decision making as to why the miracle does what it does. No one truly understands it, as it's a higher power above in the land of Custodia, and it's a crazy thing the way it can manifest itself. So we'll get into here the weapons and the abilities that the Penitent One uses. So he wields a sword known as the Mea Culpa, and this is essentially a sword that was created by a woman who wanted to be punished for her sins. So she took a piece of what's essentially the first miracle in the land of Custodia. It was a man who was essentially turned into a tree, and I believe she takes a branch of that and presses it against her chest, asking to be punished for her sins. And at that point, the miracle basically manifests a sword out of that piece of branch, causing it to impale right through her body, killing her, and she becomes solidified in stone. And now the Penitent One arrives sometime later, and he removes that sword from her chest, and this is the Mea Culpa that you see him using throughout the game. Now, the Mea Culpa can be upgraded by finding there's Mea Culpa altars hidden throughout the game. And I didn't get all of the upgrades for it. I believe I was missing one on my playthrough. There's a lot of upgrades. They're kind of in different trees as far as range. There's different upgrades that kind of boost his abilities to each tree that you can get from these Mea Culpa altars. Basically, the way the Penitent One achieves these upgrades is by purchasing them with Tears of Atonement that he collects by defeating enemies in the world. Now, the game works similar to a Souls-like fashion, where when you die, you obviously drop all of your Tears of Atonement, or what would be equivalent to souls in Dark Souls 1, and you drop that all at the spot. But the game also adds a little extra layer in the form of guilt that the Penitent One takes on. in the form of like thorns basically encroaching on your fervor bar, which is what you use to cast your prayers and stuff, which I will get into a little bit later here. But it's just another form of punishment that the game has for dying. Now you can go to certain altars to absolve that guilt by paying with Tears of Atonement. So it's a way to mitigate that at least, but it can be harsh at times. You can, as well as when attacking enemies, you can perfect parry enemies as well as do some pretty brutal and cool executions. Different enemies will have different executions, you know, depending on the enemy. The penitent one might smash them down on their coffin. He might take the wheel that they were wielding and, you know, smash them over the head with it or slice their head off. It's pretty brutal stuff, and I love what they did there with the executions. It's really, really cool and just a nice touch to the combat. Anytime I was able to pull one off, it just felt satisfying. So the penitent one does also use prayers. So prayers are abilities that he uses by using his fervor, which I mentioned earlier. It is a blue bar similar to a magic to cast very powerful spells. I believe there are 19 different prayers in the game. I don't think I got all of them. I may have gotten 12. There's a lot, you know. There's things like casting down thunderbolts around you. There's ones to make these gigantic like balls that almost constantly spin around you, dealing damage to enemies. A lot of different stuff there. I pretty much used a lot of the lightning one, and there was another one that kind of ping pongs around, but it does a lot of crazy damage. It throws almost like a blue wave and will kind of work itself up and around the borders of the map that you're fighting in, and it can be lethal when used correctly, and I really like that one. So aside from the prayers, there are Rosary Beads. Rosary Beads are things you find and collect throughout the world, little hidden items that you now attach to your actual rosary. Now, beginning in the game, you only have 2 slots to attach rosary beads, but as you progress on, you will unlock more, I believe it's knots essentially, to tie more knots on to attach more rosary beads for a total of 8 total. Now, these beads have different abilities, different attributes that they may raise for the penitent one, unique on their part. Aside from the rosary beads, we do also have relics. Now, relics are items that you're going to find throughout the world, but they're going to be items that allow you to traverse certain areas of the world, find hidden items, or access areas you weren't able to access before. Now, these relic items, I feel, are like the key aspect that make Blasphemous more of a Metroidvania, in the fact that it makes you backtrack to areas you've previously been before to access different parts of that area, or otherwise, you know, hidden areas, like I said previously. So it's a cool way to do it. I believe I got them all. It is, I want to say it's crazy in the order that you can essentially find them is going to definitely affect your playthrough. When I was playing this game, I did have to do a lot of Google searches, a lot of, you know, looking on Reddit forums, watching YouTube videos, trying to get help, because the game it's Souls-like in the fact that the story is very cryptic. It's very mysterious. It's left there for you to piece together, similar to Salt and Sanctuary, similar to Dark Souls 1. All of the items that you pick up are going to have little lore tabs to help build the world, so you have to go out there and kind of search for it on your own. So it was a game that I had to have a lot of help on, and the order that I went through the game was a lot different than the order I had read other people going through, or the order you may go through when you decide to play it. Last thing is the collectibles in the game. Now, the game has a good bit of different collectibles. There are the babies, that's what I like to call them, but I believe they're the children of moonlight. They're like little cherub babies that have wings. They're in gold cages. They're little hidden items for you to find all throughout the map. I believe there's 32, and I want to say I got close. I got to 28, but by the time I was coming up on the end of the game, I was getting burnt out. The platforming is very hard, and a lot of it's confusing, you know, it's hard stuff. It's definitely like a mind scratcher, like how do I get here, or how do I figure out how to traverse this certain area. So that was something. Aside from the babies, there are bones that you will find all throughout the world, bones of different people that were citizens of Custodia. It leaves a lot of back lore on them. I really like the lore that's attached to each of these bones, essentially. But as you collect all the bones, you will bring them to, I believe it is like a crypt keeper back in the main town. I believe it's Alberto. But anyway, you come back there, you give the guy the bones, and essentially, once you have enough bones, it will open up a door to let you fight what I'm going to call the bone boss. It's a badass, I believe it's a woman with a badass scythe, and she is fast, she is vicious, she beat my ass senselessly, and I didn't beat her. She's a side boss. I beat the game without beating her. She was something serious, and beware the bone bitch. So, aside from the bone lady, there are a few more collectibles, like there's like Quicksilver and like these gold nuggets and locks of hair and things that I'm not going to essentially spoil for you guys, but they're different items to essentially unlock different, you know, like lore, different extra items for you to collect, different bosses for you to fight. There's lots of different things. I don't believe I unlocked everything. As I said, I didn't understand everything. The game's very confusing, but there's a lot for you to go out there and discover, and the game does have a lot of replayability in that fact. So next I want to get into the difficulty and the bosses. Now, the game can be hard, guys. The first time I picked up this game, I played it. I don't even think I had the full game. I think I got a demo, and I played it for like an hour, and this shit beat my ass. I was like, oh my god, this is brutal. And I didn't pick it up again for like 6 months to a year, but I always saw videos. I'm always watching game reviews and things like that. Even for games I may not ever play, I just like learning about the lore, you know, learning about the art style, the characters. And Blasphemous was always really cool, really intriguing. I love the religious aspect, the brutality of it, the way the miracle transforms things. So it was a game I wanted to try, and I picked it up and essentially, you know, got going with it. It's like a Souls game in the fact that each little bit you get, or each platforming area, next bonfire you find, it feels so rewarding. It's a step forward to a long marathon, I would call it. And when you beat bosses, it's exciting. Bosses can be very hard. I believe his name is Escobar. I believe his name is Escobar. It's a guy on the bridge. He gatekeeps you. Now, you can omit or pass him. Spoiler here. I didn't do it. I didn't know how. It's a certain timeline you have to do the story. But I had to fight him, and he beat my ass. He was hard as shit. He beat my ass multiple times. Multiple bosses in here were rough, but it's fun. It's a fun game, and aside from the bosses being hard, what's harder than that is the platforming, guys. The platforming is vicious. There are immediate death spike traps all throughout the world. Vicious platforming sections. There's wind mechanics. There's moving platforms. There's things that, NPCs or enemies that are going to attack you throughout your platforming areas. There's time trials I never completed because they were ridiculous. There's the giant fucking gong. What a pain in the ass. And all I wanted to do was get to the top of this area to get this little piece of hidden item, and I couldn't do it. Most frustrating part in the whole damn game was that fucking gong. But the platforming in the game is hard. So if you don't like platforming, prepare yourself to get good, because it's tough. Like I said, there's multiple endings to the game. Now, the ending that I got was not the ending that you want to get. I don't think I was deemed worthy, but I'm not going to spoil it for you guys on what it was or how I obtained it. I'm not even 100% sure myself what I did to obtain that ending, but just know there's multiple endings. There's a lot of replayability there. some of the runbacks to bosses can be a bit tedious, a bit vicious, especially when you couple that with the fact that you have, you know, the guilt for dying, the Tears of Atonement loss for dying. It can be demoralizing at times. It can be a slog. But if you push through, it's an extremely enjoyable game, rewarding, very great story. My brother was the one that put me on. Aside from that, we'll get into the last part here. Pros and cons. Pros. So, I'm going to just ramble on quick with it. Pros. Art style is awesome. Spain, architecture, influence, map design is great. The Penitent One himself is badass. The bosses that you fight are badass. The music, the OST, the score is badass. It's very Spanish, like Barcelona, guitar-y. It fits very well to the vibe. They did a great job. NPCs are good. NPCs have good little storylines, good talking points. The world actually feels somewhat alive. There's a lot of different people to talk to. A lot is going on in the world. As I mentioned, the bosses are cool. A lot of different unique bosses, different boss mechanics. I believe the game, when you NG plus it, bosses get another mechanic, or things get kind of different, so that's an even more added layer. I never NG plussed it, and I never beat all the bosses. I believe there were 4 or 5 I didn't even find, because some of the areas are so hidden, or I didn't know how to get to them, or some of them were such a pain in the ass. I said, I'm not coming fucking back here. So yeah, there's that. There's a lot to do in the game. Cons. Let's get into the cons, guys. It's hard. It's hard, and you may burn out. That's really it. Those are my biggest cons with the game. I can't really give it much more than that. It is a great Metroidvania, but it is brutally hard. Like, I'm not saying young kids can't get into it. It's obviously a mature game, but, you know, as far as a difficulty level, it's going to make you work for it. An average gamer may not like this game. Someone who doesn't like platforming may not like this game. Someone who doesn't like fighting hard bosses or dying a lot may not like this game. The guilt and the tears makes it hard. So that would literally be my only con. But if you don't mind hard games, this has got you all over it. This is a good one. Story's great. I can't glaze it enough, if I'm being honest, because Blasphemous is truly, it was one of those games that just comes along and it's iconic, you know. It stood out in a time where there were 1,000 Metroidvanias. So, yeah, you guys like this review, give this video a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.